As cases rapidly approach 700,000 worldwide and the death count soars, we'll bring you up to date on what you need to know about the $2 trillion CARE Act just signed into law, breathtaking unemployment figures, and how COVID-19's version of income inequality is being so cruel to so many. All that and more as Labor This Week begins now. Hello, I'm Mark Harrison, and we're going to start by going off script. I personally want to thank everybody out there who's working so hard and under such arduous conditions. There are medical people out there, medical professionals who never saw anything like this coming. Traditionally, when we're at war at the United States, we send the Marines in first, and our medical people are on the front lines. They are the Marines in this battle. The people picking up sick people in ambulances, and the first responders, everyone, and also to be mentioned are people that are being now considered essential employees. They're out there stocking grocery stores and everything, and we're going to talk more about that as we get in the show. But I personally want to thank all of you out there who aren't even going to have time to see this. But if you know someone and you know they're working on the front lines, please tell them we said thank you on behalf of all of our watchers, all of our friends out there, and everyone here on staff. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts. All right, so let's get on with it. I'm Mark Harrison, as I said, and from the outset, everyone, please, if you're watching this on Facebook or other social media, share this program with everyone you can. There's important information here. So here we go. Congress has passed and the President has signed into law the $2 trillion Coronavirus Relief Act, also known as the CARE Act. And here is how it breaks down for you as individuals. In fact, at $560 billion, individuals will be seeing the largest share of the pie, and many are slated to begin receiving checks in the next 2 to 3 weeks. However, and be aware that there are limits and that the distribution of these monies will be based on your income tax filing from 2018 or 2019, depending on whether or not you have filed your 2019 taxes. If you earned up to $75,000 as an individual, you will be receiving a check for $1,200. If you earned over that amount, your check will begin to be less and less, with no payout at all if you earned $99,000 or more. For families, it's simply a matter of doubling all those numbers, so up to $150 gets you a check for $2,400, and that begins to phase out from there on up to $198,000, where you'll receive nothing as a family. Families will also receive $500 per child. The federal government is also kicking in an extra $260 billion to supplement state unemployment benefits. And realize that it is the states and not the federal government that pays unemployment benefits. States will continue to pay unemployment, but the CARES Act adds an extra $600 a week in benefits to whatever the state is paying out to individuals. It's fairly substantial. And the bill extends your state's current unemployment benefit by an additional 13 weeks. Additionally, this bill adds a new unemployment category for gig economy workers who are normally excluded from filing for unemployment benefits that will run through the end of this year. The filing deadline for your federal income taxes has now been extended from April 15th to July 15th, and the IRS is encouraging filers who are anticipating a refund to do so as soon as possible so that those refunds can be sent to you quickly. If you have already scheduled an automatic payment of taxes owed for April 15th, you must contact the IRS to reschedule that date, which can now be pushed to as late as July 15th. But do so at least 2 business days prior to the scheduled date of the withdrawal. The bill requires all tests for the coronavirus to be free and covered by private health insurance plans, and it makes all treatments for the virus and the vaccine free as well. That, in a nutshell, is how the bill will benefit individuals. We'll be right back after the break with how your employer stands to benefit from the CARES Act and how that will help you as employees. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Continuing with the CARES Act, there are many areas of the bill that will help your employers keep you on the payroll, beginning with $10 billion in grants to small businesses to provide emergency funds for immediate operating costs. And there is an additional provision to provide small businesses with loans of up to $10 million per business. Now, and this is significant to you as workers, any portion of that loan used to maintain payroll, keep workers on the books, or pay for rent or mortgage and existing debt could be forgiven to the business, provided workers stay employed through the end of June. It's very significant. And there is relief for federal small business loans to help businesses cover those loans for up to 6 months. All of this is intended to help keep people working and on the payroll until things can return to normal, whatever normal ends up looking like. As for big business, those giant corporations we all like to hate, they get the second biggest piece of the pie. Why? Well, because they employ one heck of a lot of people to begin with. Here's how it breaks down. $58 billion of that will go to airlines who exist on daily cash flow more than almost any other type of businesses. And that has virtually dried up, and they are burning through cash at an unprecedented rate. And here's the key, though. Any corporation, including the airlines, receiving a loan under the program are barred from making stock buybacks for the entire term of the loan plus 1 year. A portion of the money going to the airlines is set aside to help cover the cost of employee wages, salaries, and benefits. And all of the ways the corporations use the loans are subject to public disclosure. And I can tell you firsthand that the Airline Pilots Association and the Flight Attendants Union, as well as several other transportation-related unions and the Transportation Trade Department of the AFL-CIO, have been working themselves to exhaustion on the Hill in order to achieve those provisions in the bill and look out for their members. That's a real lesson in what a union can do for workers. Elsewhere, a special oversight committee is being funded by the bill as well as to provide oversight of the loans, and there is also a provision in the bill that forbids the president, the vice president, and members of the cabinet and all of their families from benefiting from any money carved out for corporations. Businesses will be allowed a fully refundable tax credit regardless of size if they have to close or are in distress in order to help keep workers on the payroll. The goal with that provision is to get employees already let go, hired back, or placed on paid furlough to make sure they have jobs to return to. Hospitals are receiving $100 billion for responding to the coronavirus, and there is $20 billion being set aside for veterans' health benefits. Additional monies that are in the provisions are in the bill to give funds to community health centers, drug access, CDC programs, child nutrition, medicine, and supplies. Telehealth, and that's the virtual doctor appointments that some people are starting to use, food stamps or the SNAP program, and food banks. State and local governments will be getting monies for temporary student loan relief and work-study funds. As well, Pell Grants will be adjusted favorably for those eligible. We'll be right back with a look at the incredible rise in unemployment. You can find out more about the Labor Network by visiting thelabornetwork.com and by following us on your favorite social media outlets, including Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Stitcher. It's Sunday night when we're taping this, March 29th, and 3 days ago, unemployment jumped 2% in a week, with the total number of filings reaching a record 3.3 million workers, up from 282,000 just a week prior. It is the single biggest jump in jobless claims in history. And as of now, many economists expect that number to look pale compared to what lies ahead, with many predicting as many as 40 million Americans could possibly lose their jobs. The most dire predictions have some models showing as much as a breathtaking 20 to 40% unemployment in the second quarter of this year. And that's the period of time that runs from April through June. If the high end of those predictions come to fruition, the CARE Act we just spent the first part of the show talking about will be almost insignificant in its ability to stop the economic freefall. Bear in mind, however, that these estimates vary widely, and it's too early to make any solid predictions. Those numbers are based on low, medium, and high incidence of infection rates of the coronavirus. Stay informed and stick to the facts. The people who were the first to go worked in the hospitality industry, the first to go out of work, many as waiters and waitresses, people who, for the most part, count on daily tip monies to stop for groceries on their way home while putting a little away to pay monthly bills. Now, monthly rent and mortgage payments will be coming due on Wednesday, and many of those payments will not be made. When those payments aren't made, the businesses who would otherwise collect that money will become stressed and will begin looking for ways to save costs, and that usually means trimming labor costs, and so the hamster wheel begins to turn. The hope is that social distancing measures will begin to mitigate new cases of people testing positive, and we will turn the tide sooner than later. The problem is that we just don't know yet. One thing is for sure, however, and that is that we are in for a tremendous amount of hurt for our most vulnerable income earners. And I'll be right back with that story next. As the numbers mount across the globe, and particularly here in America, no one will be left untouched by the pandemic. We will all know someone whose lives were effective. But in many ways, the virus is casting its longest shadow across the income inequality landscape. How quickly the term unskilled labor has been renamed essential workers. While the white-collar crowd escapes the area quickly becoming the most dangerous place to live in the world, New York City, to their homes in the country, those left behind are faced with finding survival in a city on the verge of being overwhelmed by the contagion. Across America, Uber and Lyft drivers will be entitled to special unemployment benefits under the recently signed CARES Act, but the companies have failed to comply with income reporting requirements for their states in spite of laws in some areas requiring them to do so, which makes for a months-long application process for benefits for out-of-work drivers. And good luck even getting through to the unemployment office in your state. And that's a plight all laid-off workers are quickly finding out they have to deal with. And with a delay in the time from application to the first check arriving, people with little or no savings are quickly finding themselves without money for even the most fundamental of human needs, food. Indeed, research has shown that those who suffer most from income inequality are more likely to catch the disease and more likely to die from it as well. And many have pre-existing conditions and few have access to wellness education. Indeed, when someone is existing on a minimum wage, the idea of researching a healthy lifestyle is not a top priority. In many ways, this scenario has been a long time in the making. We are also finding that certain jobs are still expected to go to work. Those once unskilled jobs that are now considered essential. Grocery workers and stockers, delivery people for FedEx and UPS and DoorDash and Grubhub. The list goes on. Amazon and other delivery warehouse workers. They tell us privately that they are afraid to go home after a day of dealing with the public for fear that they might infect their loved ones. Yet they are being told that unless they show symptoms, they are still expected to come to work. Others say even if they feel sick with a mild cold symptom or sore throats, they are afraid to call in sick for fear of reprisals that have long been institution at places like Amazon. Masks and sanitary wipes are still in short supply at many of these locations. And finally, at home, some families still have no internet connection for children to be able to go to school. And in New York, even though internet service providers offered 60 days of free service, those with unpaid bills were unable to take advantage of those offers, leaving already impoverished children to fall farther and farther behind in a world where education means more with every passing day. Please remember to share this video far and wide because we have a lot of useful information scattered throughout, especially in the first two segments. I'm Mark Harrison for Labor This Week. Be safe, everyone.